Let's be honest, today's job market is crowded, competitive, and frankly, a little unpredictable. But here's what most professionals get wrong: they think interviews are about answering questions well. They're not. After working with thousands of professionals over the last 12 plus years, we've seen exactly what separates candidates who almost get hired from those who consistently land offers. In this video, we're breaking down 5 interview secrets that top candidates use to stand out even in highly competitive markets. You'll learn how to position yourself as the obvious choice, what hiring managers are really evaluating that no one talks about, and how to leave a lasting impression that gets you the offer. If you don't know me, I'm Portia of Fly High Coaching, where we've helped thousands of executives and professionals soar to their full potential in their careers. Let's dive in. The first thing that you need to do is to stop answering questions and start controlling the narrative. This is the biggest mindset shift for senior professionals. You want to reframe the interview as a strategic conversation. You're not being interrogated, you're being evaluated as a peer. Executives and professionals win when they guide discussions, not react to them. You also want to use the message pillars approach. So this is where you define 3 to 4 core themes that you want them to remember about you. Is it something about revenue growth, team leadership, transformation, innovation, creativity, whatever it is for you, some strength that is exhibited in the results that you've received in the past? You want that to be differentiated and you want to have that as a major talking point. And what you can do is re-anchor your answers to questions back to those same themes consistently. I know this is a lot already. If you want help structuring your interview the smart way, download our free Smart Job Seekers Guide linked below. You also want to bridge your answers back to value. Don't stop at storytelling. You want to connect every answer to business outcomes. What were the results? So you can use phrases like, what that ultimately led to was, as a result of that, this happened. You also want to anticipate and preempt concerns. So address gaps, pivots, or short tenures at a company proactively. You want to position these things as strategic decisions, not liabilities. Something else you want to do in the background and subtly is, if you could be deemed as overqualified or underqualified for the role, you want to find a way to address that proactively without being asked. So there's an art to it, and we talk more about that in other videos, but you want to think about that too. You want to ask strategic questions that reinforce your positioning. So an example of this would be something like, what would success look like in the first 90 days of this role? That question signals that you have a leadership-oriented mindset, and it's not just some random candidate who's just interested in this job. Sets you apart. The second thing that you want to do is you want to differentiate with specificity. So most candidates are going to be generic throughout their whole interview because they don't want to say the wrong thing, or they feel like they don't really know what the company is looking for. You don't want to do that. Instead, you want to replace any vague conversations, claims, dialogue with measurable impact. So an example of something that would be weak or generic is, I improved team performance. Something much stronger is to say, I increased team productivity by 27% over 2 quarters. That is specific and it's measurable. You also want to use the contrast effect to your advantage. So most candidates, again, they speak in these generalities, and you being more precise is going to make you more memorable to the interviewer. So including numbers, timeline, and the scope at which you worked, all of that helps to create credibility. You want to tell strategic stories, not just task-based ones. So focus on instances where you were part of a project, a program, a key initiative that there were some major decisions, key trade-offs where you had to think strategically as a leader. Executives in particular, they're hired for their judgment, not just execution. So you want to show your reasoning process. And then in doing that, you really want to highlight complexity and scale. So what was the size of the budget of your department, your team, your project? What was the size of the team or the cross-functional team? What was the scope of the project or the program or the cross-functional scope across your company? You want to be specific. And these sorts of things signal readiness for higher level roles. So again, even if you haven't held that job title before, if you can tell these really compelling stories, people will see that, hey, even though they haven't had this job title, they've been doing this job already. And that's the idea. That's the impact that you want to leave them with. Also, you want to align your examples with their business challenges. You've got to be covert here, move in stealth mode. You can do some research ahead of time on the company. And some companies you can find a lot of information out there about, some you can't. Another way to do this is to mirror language from the job description or the company priorities that you know, and then show relevance, not just competence. So how you are different and can identify with or have already solved those sorts of problems. And then finally, you want to close the interview like a top candidate. And this is where most professionals actually lose job offers because they don't close their interviews effectively. At the end, you want to reinforce your value. So summarize your fit clearly and confidently. An example of this is, based on what we discussed, I'm confident that I can help you. Or, based on everything you told me in this interview, I think that I could really hit the ground running in this type of position. You also want to address any hesitation directly. So you can ask, is there anything we discussed that would give you pause or question my fit for this role? Now, I've had a lot of clients who are scared to ask that question because it is a direct question. However, this is your time to shine and your time to address any apprehension that they might have about you. So if you can find that out, you can address it. Also, the answer to this question, knowing that gives you a chance to recover in real time and talk about any issue that they might have. In closing, you want to express clear interest without sounding desperate. Companies want candidates who choose them back. So you want to demonstrate confidence and enthusiasm. And that is a balance between desperation. You also want to follow up strategically, not just with a generic thank you email, okay? You can send a thank you email, but you want to reference key discussion points, maybe 3 bullet points of key topics that you discussed in the interview. And you can even add some sentences that reiterate how you could help solve those problems or how you've solved those problems in the past. I like to tell people that if you really want to stand out, send an thank you email, but also send a handwritten thank you note. And finally, you want to continue positioning after the interview. So share relevant articles, insights, or ideas after the interview. Hey, Sally, I was just thinking about the position, and this article in the Wall Street Journal makes me think about da-da-da-da-da that we talked about. That's a good example. You can also subtly demonstrate thought leadership by sending articles like that and also being active on LinkedIn. And if you connect with them on LinkedIn and you're posting content that's relevant to that job, relevant to what you talked about, they might see it. So if you take anything away from this video, remember that top candidates don't just answer questions. They position themselves as the solution. So you want to focus on controlling the narrative, being specific about your impact, and closing with confidence. If you want help preparing for your next interview or positioning yourself more effectively, we've included some resources below for you.